Hi all, it's really great to be back at Health Tech Forward, this time in Barcelona instead of Warsaw last year. So today here to present a little bit different to what we were going through last year and really diving into how Lindus Health uses technology to streamline clinical trials and eventually leads to time saving in the trials, leading to quicker products to market. So essentially, to start off, we just want to level set here around the CRO model and why we think it's not working. So a key part of this is really in the hourly billing model. So CROs, traditional CROs, get billed on the hour, meaning that they have these misaligned incentives to actually be more delayed because they will incur more cost. So essentially, the system works against you to accelerate timelines there, and they have this heavy reliance on outsourcing different elements of a clinical trial, leading to higher risk of delays, managing multiple third parties. And overall, we see that people are just generally dissatisfied with CROs. And what this inevitably means is that your trial is delayed, meaning getting your product to market is going to take longer. And essentially what this slide is trying to show is really that there's a lot of moving parts to clinical trials in each of these processes, each of which can be fairly complex in nature, time-consuming, and prone to errors. And so really what we try and do is use technology to streamline these services and to make it more automated. So really, we do this from inception through to completion in these 4 areas. So, starting at the very beginning for protocol generation. So having automated protocol generation where we can suggest the right endpoints for the trial and suggest improvements to the trial design. With participant recruitment, we have access to over 30 million EHR records for which we can find patients and reach out to them. We have our adherence and safety monitoring workflows integrated into our Citrus platform. So that's our electronic data capture, which allows us to streamline the process for adverse events monitoring and keeping participants in the trial. And lastly, we're able to use AI and other pieces of technology to improve the data quality. So really streamlining and simplifying data querying, picking up on areas where we think there might be issues or errors in the data and addressing that with the team. So really for the purpose of this talk, it's really to dive into these 3 elements. So starting off with Sprout, our decision support tool for trial design, how we're able to accelerate trial recruitment, and lastly, on the data quality piece. And so in traditional study design, there are 3 kind of key challenges here. So really in the fact that there's static document updates, meaning that it has to be done manually. There can be prone to errors. There's also these fractured data sources. So, pulling data from each and every one of these areas can be hard. And lastly, when you actually create the protocol itself, it can be very labor intensive, time consuming. And so we created Sprout really to tackle these kind of 3 big issues. So really digitalizing the trial protocol in order to enable digital data workflows. So from that digitalized protocol, it can seamlessly be configured into our EDC. Having a centralized repository of where all this data is held. And lastly, having this auto-generated study document. So actually creating the protocol is so much quicker this way, but of course, how we use it is not just generated at submit. We will have our clinical operations team come with their years of experience to run through the design and further suggest any more amendments to it. And so this Sprout tool is trained on hundreds and thousands of successful clinical trials, meaning that it's able to suggest what the right endpoints are from previous trials that have been successful in their outcomes. And so we're quite proud of this, and it's been published in Nature. And so when it comes to recruitment, this is really an area where we can pick up the pace in terms of accelerating timelines for a clinical trial. So essentially what we do is that we're able to search EHR records through their GP providers, and using the inclusion-exclusion criteria, coding this into the medical records and finding the right participants for this trial. So not only is this a really super targeted way to get the right participants, so managing resources there, but also it casts the net wider to the amount of people you can enroll in your trial from that singular physical site. And so it's a really seamless process for participants where they would essentially get a text message from their GP saying, look, you're eligible for this trial, click on this link, and it takes you to the study webpage where they would then go through pre-screening, screening, and eventually talk to one of our study coordinators to get onboarded into the trial. And so lastly, talking about how we're using AI in order to have high quality data. So it's really founded on these four pillars of protocol digitalization, configuration, AI monitoring, and digital data management. But with the AI monitoring, we're really able to have risk-based monitoring to improve the data quality. So what is risk-based monitoring? So essentially, the crux of it is really how do we find issues and can we solve them with people in our team? And a very simplistic version is risk assessment and categorization. So essentially, this is looking at the whole protocol, identifying areas of highest risk, and allocating resources. But the challenge with these methods is that often the time between you looking at the issue and actually resolving it is quite long. You might be dealing with data from 2 weeks ago, so that small issue has now snowballed into a greater issue for the trial and leads to delays. So what we've created within our Citrus platform is an integrated solution for issue tracking that can be done in real time using machine learning anomaly detection. So how this works is a kind of screenshot here of our platform, but if we dive deeper into this example of the data, it's that we can see that from the waist circumference, they were supposed to be putting in inches, which converts into centimeters. We would expect in this data that everything would come around 120, but in this case, we found errors in the data, and this was flagged around everything being around 40, meaning that they were probably just putting in inches and it never converted. So the implications of this is that in real time, we can actually reach out to that patient and tell them, we need to rectify this or whatnot. And so this feeds into how our vision works for how do we completely digitalize clinical trials in order to accelerate the process? So starting off with the AI-powered protocol generation with Sprout, which automates the fully digitalized protocol. This then simplifies the study build and data collection process and allows us to do real-time data monitoring. And with real-time data monitoring, it allows us to have higher quality data, which enables us to do the biostatistics far easier. And so after biostatistics, you have the results, and this then will close the loop and inform our protocol generation tool. And I just want to end here on a case study that we did, very briefly going through it around how we employed each of these technologies in order to not only accelerate recruitment, far beyond the expectations, so actually finishing the trial 1 year ahead of schedule, as well as retaining 90% of participants in the trial. So really this was down to two factors, which was using that medical records technique in order to reach out to participants via their GP network. And then also configuring into our EDC all these automated workflows to retain patients. So whether that be alerts to keep them in the study, we're also able to program if they haven't responded to the ePro in order that they get another alert or we get alert in order to nudge them across. So thank you for your time, and it's really great to be able to present how using different technologies, we can speed up trials, as well as pass this on to our sponsors who can get their products onto market far quicker.